What changes for good did it make in your life or the students' lives?
I feel like by giving them that ownership over the classroom, it really helped them be more confident, especially last year. And I know going into this year will be very similar. I've got a lot of students who are very shy. They're not confident in their abilities or themselves. And having them walk into a room and hearing the very first thing, be like, oh, that's my name.
Welcome to Rainbow Skies for New Teachers, where we're all about bite-sized tips and simple strategies for bright and busy new teachers.
If you're in your first few years of your career and want to make the rollercoaster ride of teaching more fun, streamlined and stress-free, you're in the right place.
We're Ashleigh and Alisha, the dynamic duo from Rainbow Sky Creations, and we're excited to be your teacher mentors on the go. There are rainbows ahead, my friend.
And together, we're unstoppable. Let's get into today's episode.
Here at Rainbow Sky Creations, we acknowledge the Darra people and the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional custodians of the lands on which we record this podcast today, where we live, work and learn. We pay our respects to their past, present and emerging elders of this nation and supports the cultural, spiritual and educational practices of First Nations people.
Welcome back to Rainbow Skies for New Teachers. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hang on a second. This is not when the new episodes usually drop, and you are correct. We are here with a bonus episode today, and this is one you are not going to want to miss. Today, we are talking with Brittany, who is a teacher who has been in the classroom for a couple of years. Brittany is so open and genuine with how she shares her struggles, her wins, and everything in between, and I think so many of you are going to relate to exactly what she has to say. In this episode, we are going to dive into the many struggles of new teachers, how it's absolutely normal to feel that way, and some pearls of wisdom of how you can overcome some of these difficulties. Brittany also shares how she works in an MC class and how she handles all the different needs and challenges that are thrown her way on the daily. Brittany is a positive, shining light, and you are going to love this episode. Without further ado, introducing Brittany. I would love to welcome Brittany to the podcast. A warm welcome to you.
Hello, thank you for having me.
No problem. We're so excited to have you here. So before we dive into some of the more juicier questions, tell me, how long have you been teaching and where in Australia are you located?
So I'm going into my third year as a temp, but I've been teaching since 2021, I believe. I was a casual for half of that year. I teach in a semi-rural school in New South Wales.
Fabulous. We live not too far away from each other, actually. We probably could have done this podcast recording in person. 2021, that would have been a very difficult year to start casual teaching, was it?
It was, yeah. So I was also doing my internship that year. So we had a lot of it. So it started off all good. They let me start my internship. There was no problems. And then halfway through, the school went into lockdown. And so we had to sort of modify how I was doing all of that and working around all of it. So yeah, it was a pretty difficult year.
Yeah, we're always saying that teachers need to be flexible, and that's one of our superpowers. But I feel like all of the COVID and the school closures is another level of flexibility.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what year are you teaching this year?
So I'm a 3-4 class this year. I teach an MC class, so multi-categorical. So they're all of the students with special needs. And I'm actually quite lucky. I'm keeping almost the same class as I had last year. So we've got the same routines. It gives them some stability and just makes it easier to start the year. So I'm actually very excited about that.
That's exciting. So how many students are in your class? Is it a smaller class?
It is, yeah. So I've got 10 kids. Their disabilities range from just like learning difficulties. So I've got a few students who have moderate intellectual disabilities and all the way up to kids who have opposition to defiance disorder. They've got autism, ADHD, all of these other really complex disabilities as well.
That's fabulous. I'd imagine that that would bring a lot of challenges to your day, but also a lot of reward. Am I right with saying that?
100%. And the reward always outweighs the challenges. Like at the end of the day, as long as those kids can tell me that they've enjoyed their day and that they want to come back to school the next day, I feel like I've done my job.
So, Brittany, I've got a question for you. And we're going a little bit off script now, so I hope that I'm not prying too much. But if there was a first-year teacher that came to you or a teacher who had only been teaching a few years and they hadn't come across any students that had a disability or were neurodiverse, what piece of advice would you give to them? Because I know a lot of you teachers do worry about having students with these different needs in their class.
The biggest thing I've had to learn is don't underestimate. Like we say with all our students, they bring their own background with them. Like they have so many abilities and capabilities, and you just have to lean into them, find out their special interests, find out something they love to do, and use that to help them engage.
I love that. It's exactly the same premise of what we would do with a mainstream class. We want to try and get to know the students as individuals, and you're using that exact same premise in your classroom.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And do you have a lot of contact with the parents as well?
Yeah, 100%. So in my first year, I had quite a difficult parent. So I learned very quickly that communication can help overcome those challenges. I fail, but I try to send home at least a weekly newsletter with positive news for all the parents and some photos of what we've done so they can have a chat with their kids and learn about some of the positive things that are going on. So it's not always just that negative news going home.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is another huge worry that new teachers have, is that making that connection with parents and feeling like parents are really scary. And especially those students in our classrooms that may have extra or additional needs. Sometimes we do need to connect with the parents that little bit more, because as a parent too, that's a really scary place to be. You've got your child in the care of another adult. And I love that you're really trying to encourage that positive communication.
Yeah, and at the start of the year, our school does like an information evening where the parents can come in and meet you and sit in the classroom. And the very first thing I said to them was, I have very high expectations, but I'm not setting these kids up for failure. I want them to succeed. And if there's anything going on, I will be communicating with you, and I want you to be able to tell me if something's going on. And yeah, I really stress to them that I want that connection with them.
That's fabulous. I feel like that could be a mantra that we could use inside Transform Your First Year. So I love that. We're going to pull out that quote for sure, Brittany. Okay, so we talked about a few things that I know that new teachers have troubles with, but was there a particular problem or a particular worry that you had in your first year of teaching?
Yeah, so I had a really challenging first year. So I started straight away the support unit at my school. So I went straight into a class with disabilities, and at the same time I was studying my master's full time. So I was sort of probably overloading myself a little bit, which I know a lot of first year teachers can do.
Yeah.
I had a really challenging class, and they were year 6. So they were all moody and emotional and just ready for high school. I had a student who had a lot of medical issues that were really challenging to overcome. I had one student who had oppositional defiance disorder. I was having to call in exec all the time, and it was always a worry to me that I would seem weak by calling in my exec, and that I couldn't handle it. So I had to learn, no, it's okay to ask for help, and they're there to help you for this reason. They know you're a first year teacher. They're there to help you. They're not there to demean you and say, oh, you can't teach because you can't handle this one student. So I had to learn that very quickly. And I think it really helped because I had a very supportive team at my school. So yeah, they were so supportive and really helpful in helping me overcome those challenges.
I love that. I think that asking for help is a huge thing. And I think sometimes we make the mistake, and I definitely made this mistake, that you think you're your own little silo in your classroom, and that if you ask for any help, you're a failure. Like, you can't handle this, or this is overwhelming. But the truth is that teachers generally are really kind people, and they want to help. Like, they went into the industry of teaching because they love young people. They want to be helpful. They love teaching. And that's the same with their colleagues too. I know if a colleague comes to me and asks for help or says, how did you do this? Or I want a copy of that, it thrills me to help them. So majority of your colleagues are going to feel the same way. I really love that. So we're going to skip back because we've gone a little bit out of order. But if you could describe your first year in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
I'd go exciting first.
Yes.
Well, this is a challenging question. Exciting, challenging, and insightful.
Oh, I love that word, insightful. I can see, Brittany, you've gone straight to the positive with your very first word, even though you told us about the challenge and how difficult that first year was, especially with, gosh, at year 6, you're in that extra classroom. I could see that there was really a lot of challenges, but they seem to be really lucky to have you with that positive attitude that you have.
Yeah, I always try and keep the positivity, because one of the things I learned through TIFI and through a couple of other courses that I've done is once you get into that negative headspace, the kids are the ones that suffer because they're missing out on all of that. So I try and always be positive as much as I can. I have my days, but as we all do, but yeah, as much as I can be, I try and be positive about it all.
Yeah, and we're modeling, our behavior is always modeling to the students. So if we're modeling how to be positive, even when things aren't really going the way we want, they're learning that. I find that with my own children at home. What I do makes such a huge difference and an impact on how they behave. And as teachers, things can get so overwhelming. Sometimes we're stressed, but it's not the kids' fault that we're stressed. And that's one of the big beefs I have about schools is that they put so much pressure on teachers and they're always asking so much of teachers. And often, and I know I felt this way when I was going into the classroom, I'd walk into the classroom in the beginning of the day and I was so stressed. And then the poor students are the ones that have to deal with that adult being unregulated the whole day. I'd love to see that turn around. I'd love to see less pressure on teachers so that they can go and really model those really great behaviors for the students and so that they are regulated and then they can help the students be more regulated and everyone can just have a happier time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I've always said try to be as positive as possible. So I always start my morning before the bell goes and the kids are lined up. And the very first thing I say to them is, good morning, good to see you, how are you? Rather than, oh, you're not wearing the right socks or something, and just adding that stress to my palate about what others are thinking, and always just try and be, oh, how are you first?
Yes. I was actually making a TikTok this morning about things that I wouldn't do if I was a teacher in the classroom this year. And one of the things I wouldn't do is reprimand students for things that they can't help. So I taught kindergarten for a couple of years and there'll be times that they didn't bring in their homework or they're wearing the wrong uniform or something like that. But it's not the child in kindergarten's fault. They've got an adult behind them that hasn't helped them do that. And there's probably a reason why that adult hasn't been able to pull that together. I know now that I'm a mum with school kids, there's times that I can't pull things together either, but it seems like a bit of a waste of energy for everyone involved.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so how did you first discover Rainbow Sky Creations?
So a friend actually told me about you guys. So she had found you on Instagram, I believe, and she messaged me and said, oh, look, I'm signing up for this course. Do you want to do it as well? And we'll do it together. So I'd been friends with this girl since year 7. So we went all through high school together. We ended up at the same year doing the same degree. So we went all through that time together. And yeah, she reached out and ended up coming over and we did the course together. So that's how I found out about it.
Amazing. Can we give her a shout out? Who is it?
So she's Ainsley.
Oh, wonderful. Hello, Ainsley. If you're listening to this, is she teaching in a mainstream classroom now?
She is, yeah. She's at a Catholic school.
Oh, wonderful. That's so good that you were able to do it together. So when it came up and she said, do you want to do this? What made you say, yep, I'm going to join this membership?
I felt like having it come from teachers that had been recently in the classroom that had a whole wealth of knowledge behind you and you were working together as a team and just being able to share your knowledge just felt so much more genuine than what some uni courses had where teachers hadn't been in the classrooms either ever or they hadn't been in there for 15, 20 years. And it had that draw and appeal to it that it was from people who had so much experience in a classroom, but it wasn't outdated experience.
Yeah. Alisha and I, if you don't know us, if you've been listening along, you probably have gathered this, but we're very different teachers. I'm a type A person, Alisha is a type B, and when we decided to create Transform Your First Years, or TIFI as we call it, we thought it would be great to come together and give different perspectives because everyone's different, and sometimes it's good to hear from someone who's just like you, and sometimes it's good to hear from someone who is a little bit different and who sees things in different ways to see what you connect with. So before you joined Transform Your First Years, or TIFI, how would you describe yourself?
Anxious, definitely anxious, because I was very unsure about stepping into the classroom, and I would say a little bit apprehensive because I hadn't actually been in the classroom before I started TIFI. So before TIFI, I'd never stepped foot in a classroom outside of prac, and I'd never been left in a room on my own with students. Definitely very apprehensive and anxious.
Yeah, that is scary. And since you've been a part of the membership and done all the little masterclasses and everything inside the membership, how would you describe yourself now?
I was still anxious to start. Definitely as a beginning teacher, that never goes away until you're sort of in the room and found your feet. But I feel like I had more strength and more understanding behind me.
Definitely. I would say that you're confident now. I can see how you're speaking. Some of the things that you're saying, I'm like, oh, tell us more. You've got so much to offer. So that is fabulous. What was the first thing you learned inside the membership and actually applied to your teaching? Can you remember?
The first thing that really stood out to me was, I think you've posted a few TikToks and Instagram videos with it too, is about the decorating the walls and also giving the students ownership over the classroom. So the very first thing that stuck with me, and I have done it every single year, is make sure that there's at least 3 to 5 places in the classroom where the students have their names and have that on the very first day. So when they walk in, they can see where they belong and that they're welcomed in that breakout rooms, it's theirs as well. It's not just my classroom, it's their classroom, it's their space as well.
Yeah, I love that. Someone asked me the other day, where are some different places that you could put these names? And I'm sure we've spoken about this in another podcast episode, but people may have missed that. So some different places that you could put the names are on the door. You might have desk plates or desk tags where they've got their name, places to put their school bag. You might have a birthday chart up. I know Alisha is really keen on, she likes to create the birthday chart with her students, but you could have all their names just down the side and then you could move them to the months when you're doing that as a class. Same with your reading groups and your maths groups. If you've got signs up like that, you could have all the names on the side and then move them onto those groups as you start to create them. Have you got any other ideas of where you could put names?
No, I use a lot of those. And I've also got them on their tote trays. So we have trays that they can put their little belongings in. So I put them on there. Even sometimes if it's just their name in bubble writing, and then they can decorate it and colour it and do whatever they feel like it. But at least their name is there on that very first day.
That is fabulous. Another thing I was thinking of actually while you were talking was I was talking to another teacher on Instagram DMs and I just said you could even just have on your whiteboard, welcome to whatever your class name is, 4S, and have everyone's names written around it. And that's just something that they can see and acknowledge as soon as they walk into the classroom on the first day. I was also on an aeroplane. I was coming back from a wedding 2 days ago and I was creating a free resource, and it is a find a word with everyone's names from the class. So that is a freebie. I'll pop a link to that in the show notes for anyone who may want to grab that freebie, but that would be a fun way just to pop it on their desks and a little icebreaker to start the day on the very first day or something like that too.
Awesome. I'll be getting that for sure because I can kind of work out my little starters for the first day. Yeah.
I'll send that to you. That's a good one. I think it's also good, especially when I was teaching in Dubai, I realized that lots of names were a little bit more out of my comfort zone. And it's important that we use everyone's names and it's important that we spell them and say them correctly. And as I was creating that little find a word, I thought this is a really great way of the students starting to learn each other's names, but also be able to spell them in the correct way. So tell me, we talked about the first thing you learn inside the membership. What changes for good did it make in your life or the students' lives?
I feel like by giving them that ownership over the classroom, it really helped them be more confident, especially last year. And I know going into this year will be very similar. I've got a lot of students who are very shy. They're not confident in their abilities or themselves. And having them walk into a room and hearing the very first thing be like, oh, that's my name. Like I am in the right spot. I'm meant to be here. Having them recognize that, it helped them feel more safe in the room. And I think having that safety built their confidence in being able to share little things about themselves. Or if they had an answer to a question, they had the confidence to share it and not feel like they were in the wrong place and they didn't have that fear of, oh, if I get this wrong, it's a bad thing. I think that really impacted them and me because it helped me build their confidence and recognize their needs as well.
Definitely. You're talking a lot about growth mindset there too. Teaching that in a subtle way for them to be like, it's okay to just give things a go. I might not know it yet.
Yeah, I use that a lot. It's that yet mindset. I always use that, and every year I've had this wall up where it's their faces. It doesn't have their goals on it because like we do that separately, but it has things like, oh, by the end of this term or this year I want to be more confident or I want to meet new friends, and right underneath it says I might not be there yet but I will someday.
Oh, I love that. So you have got a photo of the students and then they have that underneath. Is that how you're saying it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's separate to their learning goals, but it's also something that I know that I can help them with at school.
Yeah, and you can refer back to it and then they can see their progress, which is fabulous too.
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody was coming to you and they said, I don't know about joining TIFI, what do you think? If they were even in a similar situation to you, so they're not in a mainstream classroom or like a teacher with a straight class, what would you say to them?
Just do it, because you never know what you're going to gain from experiences like these. Like if you feel confident, if you feel anxious, if you feel stressed or worried, just do whatever you can at that time. So if you had the time to do it and the capabilities to do it, there's no harm. You never know what you're going to learn from these experiences.
Yeah. As a business owner now, we often join different memberships and courses, and it's actually often the thing you go in to learn is not the thing that you come out with, which I think is really special and amazing. And sometimes we're a bit closed off in our mind, but there's so much to gain, even just from the community that we have with the new teachers all together. And Brittany's been with us for years now.
I think this is like my 4th or 5th year, yeah.
and we love having you.
Thank you.
So any more parting words of wisdom for new teachers before we wrap this up?
Don't try to reinvent the wheel. There are things out there, and especially the people out there. Ask for help. Go to your friends. Go to people that you know. And one thing that I learned from my Dell, actually, who is an amazing woman, she said, find someone who you can vent to.
Yep.
Find that one person who you can tell all your stresses to no matter what, and they can do the same back to you, but never take it beyond that one person, because then it becomes gossip and it becomes a toxic work environment. So find that one person so you can always relieve that stress, but don't fall into the habit that I know a lot of people, both inside and outside of teaching, have of going to more than one person to vent about, especially about other people. So just find that one person who can help you.
That's very wise. Sometimes we do need to vent about other people, but keeping it to the one person is extremely wise, because schools can become little gossip hubs for sure.
100%. So that was the one thing that I think stuck with me through a course I actually did with the Dells in my area.
That's fabulous. So Brittany, you got married these school holidays, which is super exciting. So I want to say congratulations. That is amazing. Are you changing your surname when you go back to school?
Yes.
So what are you going to be called when you get back to school this year?
I'm going to be Mrs. Baratov.
Oh, that's amazing. So you probably have to change a few things around, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I've started all the application processes and everything else. So I'm working through those while I'm trying to plan for next term. So we'll see how far I get in. But yeah.
Cool. Where did you get married?
Crooked River Wines in Gerringong.
Oh, yeah, I know it. I love Gerringong. It's one of my favourite places. My parents used to have a holiday house down there.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, no, it was just beautiful. It was amazing. And then 2 days later, we jetted off to Samoa. So...
Oh, how good. What a holiday. You're going to go back on the biggest high ever.
No, yeah, I'm going back with a new last name and a new haircut. My kids won't recognize me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. That is amazing. Congratulations. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom and your positivity. You are a shining light. Like, I'm sitting here looking at you. I know this is a podcast and it's not a visual medium, but I'm sure people can hear it through your voice, how much joy and pleasure you get from the job and how much that you want to share. So I really want to thank you for being an open book and sharing everything that you have to offer. If people want to connect with you after this interview, is there a way that they can do that?
Yeah, they can email me if they want to, or I'm on social media in nearly all forms. I don't have Twitter or like Threads or anything, but like I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, they can reach out through there or through the Tiffy page. I'm on there, so they can find me through the membership and things like that.
Okay, so if you're a part of the membership, you can find Brittany. She's Brittany with an A. You can find her in our Facebook group, or if you'd like to email her, shoot us an email at admin@rainbowskycreations.com and we will share her email address with you as well, especially if you're a little bit nervous or you're taking on a class like Brittany is. She may be able to offer you some words of advice. And as you can see, she's a totally open book and willing to share. So I really appreciate that. That's one of the things that I love so much about our community, how much everyone is willing to help each other.
Yeah, I love that too. It's definitely the most inclusive and friendly teacher community I've joined.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. And if anyone out there is worried about students that are neurodivergent or have got some sort of behavioural challenges, we are actually exploring that further in Tiffy, Transform Your First Years, later in the year. We've got a few experts coming in. We always have a monthly theme, and it's going to be one of our monthly themes in the first half of the year. So that is something exciting to look forward to. If it's something that you would like to come and join, go and check out the show notes. We've got the link there. And of course, our email and our DMs on social media are always open. We're here to answer any questions. Thank you so much for joining us, Brittany, and a huge congratulations on getting married again. It's super exciting.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
We might have to have you back after a couple of years and see how you're traveling along. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Wasn't that just such a great, genuine, authentic conversation? I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I was saying to Brittany off air, I learned so much from her too. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about being part of a teaching community. Now, next week, Alisha and I will be back for our normal Monday episode, and we are talking all about parent concerns. So please come back and have a listen to that. Before you do, though, go and share this episode, because the more you share it, the more we can get into the ears of other teachers and help as many teachers as we possibly can. We will see you next week, and until then, there are rainbows ahead, my friend, and together we're unstoppable.